we've got issue 30. Right guys, welcome back to the Yorkshire Modeller. Yep, we finally have issue 30, so we should be back on track now for Thursday next week being Thursday this week, sorry, being issue 31. The issues with Hachette have been sorted, so 29 was late coming in, that was a week late. This one I thought was going to be another week late, I thought I'd put everything back beyond that, but no, this one's absolutely fine and back in. So, all we get in this one is another hull section, and then we get the rangefinder and the tower for it, by the look of it. So that's the rangefinder, and then you've got the tower just there. So I'll do what we normally do, get everything repositioned so we've got the bench, and then we will see what we get in full with this issue. As I say then, issue 30, we get the next hull section, then we get the rangefinder tower and the rangefinder itself, and then you get some PM screws to attach that keel plate on. And then we've got all the instructions there for attaching everything together, gluing it all together, where to glue those little parts on that you've come off the sprue, and what it will look like when it's finished. So you can tell I've moved my table around a bit, so it's just a straight edge along this back side now. It's because I've moved the room around a little bit, so I've got some display tables which I'll kind of show you in a minute once I've got this bit all built up. So first part of the instructions are fitting the next hull section. So what we do is we bring in the hull section that we've got up to now. I'll just move all the rangefinder stuff over, get these screws opened up. So, there we are, there are all the screws. Bring the screwdriver in, and then move this all closer up to you. So, what we have is the next part here, and that just goes on this side just here. So we've got this, and then we're going to attach another bit onto here. So it just clips in exactly the same way as all the other hull panels have, like that. So all the pins attach properly. Then we'll just get one of them. So that's that one. So it's just 3 attachments onto this. So you just screw these up as tight as they'll go. I always do the 2 lowest down ones first, so like the ones that are actually closest to the keel. Get them in and done. And then do the one that's slightly higher up. So what you'll have in the end is that. So it's just those 2 screw holes there, and then that one just there as well. So that's the whole part of this build, this week's issue, sorry, all finished. So I'll move that over to the side. Now before I had all my Bismarck stuff actually on my table, like here, straight behind where the camera is. I've moved it all over this side, so like I say, I'll show you that in a minute. We'll get rid of that PM screw into my screw pot, and then we'll bring in everything else that we need for this next bit. So, side cutters, move the screwdriver, and I'm going to carry on using the Tamiya extra thin that I used in the last one. When I glued the deck houses on, this worked really, really well. They haven't shifted, they haven't moved, and it hasn't changed the colour of the plastic either. So, just to show you, deck houses all glued on there, and there's no movement on them. They're glued in really well. What I did, I put the glue at the bottom of the deck house, and then I put it on the bit that touches, so like the bit that touches just there as well. So all the way along that top bit, and then right down inside there. and they're not moving, so I'm going to carry on using it. I've got a couple of bottles of this stuff as well, because there's a shop in Whitby that sells it, and also it's brilliant for when you're doing your normal model kits, because there are a couple of them that I'm thinking of getting and putting on the channel as well. Like for example, I'm thinking of doing the Revell 1/700 scale Star Destroyer, but you know, same as before, we'll see. So take the two halves of the first tower, which are these two here. Check that the pegs on the two parts fit into the holes. Apply a little super glue to the pegs and fix the parts together. Right, so the Wackeltoft was the German name for the domed rangefinder, and the word the word literally translates as wobbly pot. That's going to keep me laughing for a while. So they're the two pegs. So it's like any standard model kit you get. There's a side with pegs on, there's a side with holes on, and they just match up. So the two halves line up perfectly. Now the good thing with this to me are extra thin, which is what I've mentioned before, is you can hold the two parts together and just put the glue into the, like across that seam. So where you've got that seam line, just in there, you can run a bead of glue up that, and it shouldn't, because what it'll do is it'll seep into the, it'll go into the join and then actually glue it all in together. If you are thinking about getting into not just like scale modelling like this, where it's part works, but also scale modelling like Revell or Italieri, Tamiya, this is a brilliant thing to have, because you can literally hold the two parts together, make sure that everything lines up properly, and then just glue it while you're holding it, and the glue with the capillary action will just run straight down the seam. So just to show you what I mean, and I'm just holding one half and the other half is glued on. If you put a bit of pressure on, they will still come apart until that glue sets, but it does set really quickly. And also it doesn't actually leave, it leaves a little bit of a glue line, but not as much as some other glues do, but you can sand that smooth if you want to. So that's that bit all done. With the two halves of the tower joined together, check the fit of the dome on top of the tower. Study the photograph, so it's photograph 2, to ensure the correct alignment. So that the raised areas around the rim of the dome fit into the notches in the tower. Apply a little glue to the inside of the dome as indicated by the red arrow. So what you're looking for on the actual dome itself, that's it, you can see one just there and one straight opposite are two little nubs, and they will fit into these two grooves there and there. So if we just line those up, there we go, so that's all attached, and then exactly the same, just a dab of glue into there. And then hopefully, if you get a good bead of glue all the way around it, that should just stay on quite well. There we go. There we go. That's another part all attached. Lovely. So the two bits that are on the sprue go in the two holes, one there and one there. So we'll just neatly clip those off. So that's those bits done. And then, cut the rangefinder arms from the frame and check the fit in holes on either side of the rangefinder dome. Note that one fits on the left and the other on the right. The peg on the base of the rangefinder arm fits into the hole, and just check the blue arrow for that. Check you have the rangefinder arms aligned correctly so they will point forwards. seating set on the next step. So there's a couple of really tiny on these little rangefinders. Those two little nubs there, they have to point forward on the finished dome. So what I would probably say is, if you bring in the parts that you've got up to now that you've already done, and this is going on this side. So you're looking at the kit this way, it's going just in that little groove just there. So best thing to do is line that pin up, see which way that goes in, so you know which way round to glue these on. If I can get that pin to fit properly, there we go. So that'll fit on there like that, so you know which way around you're putting these two pins. So that one will go forward, that one will go forward. So that way you know which one's right and which one's left. If I keep that lined up so I know which one's which, and then I'll put that one in there. It's just taking your time. Again, same as anything else with model building. Just take your time, and if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. It's not the end of the world. There's always time to rectify it. Just think like Bob Ross. We don't have mistakes, we have happy accidents. As rude as that sounds in the 21st century. You swine. That's one thing that can happen. There we go. So I'm going to put another bit of glue on the forward side of this as well. So if you're wanting to know exactly which way around to put these, on the top of the dome, I don't know whether you can see that properly, you've got two little hatches. The two pegs point away from those two hatches. You've got two that are relatively close together and one out in front. So it's the one closest to that little beacon at the top there. The two little pins on there have to point away from that beacon at the top. So let's see how that looks, if I can get a decent... There we go, that's better. So those are all attached. Check how the assembled rangefinder fits near the back of the deck structure. A peg on its base fits into the hole in the bridge deck. Note that the rangefinder arms are pointing forwards. When you've found the correct position, glue it in place. And then that's everything for this week. So we have here, we can glue that in, and the good thing about this Tamiya extra thin is you can go in from the underside and just put your glue all the way around the little peg, there and there. There we go. And once that glue actually sets, basically it will melt the two bits of plastic together, so there'll be one piece of plastic. There we go. So now hopefully if I take my hand away, there we go, that's on, and that is everything done for this issue. So that's issue 30 done, a nice quick one. Issue 31, we get the rangefinder to go on the other side of the deck with all the parts there, and we get the port side hull, next piece up, and also the connector for it as well. So that's issue 31. I did promise to show you my new, because I've moved everything round, so what we have now, I'll just move the camera, is just on the far side over here, we've got the Bismarck just over here. I've got one table there that has the Bismarck on it, and then I've got another table just here that will have the Aston Martin on it. So those are the two models that I'm doing. You can see the Bismarck folder there. I'm not sure whether I might get a different folder though, just so I can keep them all together. You know, maybe a silver one for the Aston and some red folders for the Battleship Bismarck magazines. So yeah, that's it for another issue of the Bismarck. Issue 31 should be up on Thursday coming, and then hopefully then we're back on track with everything, and we shouldn't have any more problems with the build. So yeah, until next time, remember to like, share and subscribe to the Yorkshire Modeller, and we will see you on Thursday for issue 31 of Hachette Parkworks Battleship Bismarck. Happy modelling, guys.